Why boastest thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of God endureth continually. The tongue deviseth mischief like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness, Selah. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. God shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root thee out of the land of the living, Selah. The righteous shall also see and fear and shall laugh at him. Lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches, and strengthened himself in his wickedness. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercy of God forever and ever. I will praise thee forever, and because thou hast done it, and I will wait on thy name, for it is good before thy anointed ones. Yes. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swelled the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, all praises to the Most High. All praises, all praises. Yes, we glorify the Most High. Yes, upcoming is a praise, and we thank God even for you, and those of you that have been with us since the beginning. Also, those of you that have been with us here and there's about. And also those of you who have just subscribed. Yes, we thank you. We give God the praises for you. God's glory, even your edification. And we thank the Most High for you. And those of you that are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, you're walking with Mr. Clay. I am Mr. Clay. And we're in the book of 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 22. Yes, 22. 2 Samuel chapter 22 as we prepare. Now we know David was a man similar to Joseph. All the things that Joseph suffered in order to get where he was a Mashiach for Abraham and his brothers and those that were with them, to deliver them out of the famine. He was used as a Mashiach, although he had to suffer. And he learned obedience by the things that he suffered. Yes, he did. He did not stray away from the Most High because of what he suffered, even though it seemed like he was an enemy of God or God hated him. The only thing God did not like about Joseph, one of the things God did not like about Joseph was the fact that when he was put into the pit, according to the book of Jubilees, Jasher, should I say, when he was put into the pit, his brother threw him into the pits. God had mercy on him by hiding the snakes and not allowing them to bite him. The snakes have a way of getting into pits, so that is a believable scenario, yes. And so God didn't allow him to get bit by snakes, nor did he see snakes in that pit, although they were there. But the fact is that Joseph told, when he got to the prisons, he told the baker, I believe it was the baker, or the cupbearer, well, there's two of them, a cupbearer and the baker. He told one of them, when you get before Pharaoh, remember me. In other words, he was trusting in man. Instead of the man said, well, I'm going to tell Pharaoh about you when I get before his throne. That's one thing. That's what the man volunteered to do. But the fact is, remember me. No. I don't want you remembering me in nothing. God remembers me. God sees me every day. God was angry with him because his trust was in that man, and that his word to the Pharaoh would deliver him instead of him trusting God and God's good timing to deliver him. Pain of death and pain that we suffer throughout the years and times does not be compared with the glory that's going to be done when God comes back. There's nothing to be compared with it, because after he suffered a while, God strengthened, settled, and established Joseph, even as second to the Pharaoh of Egypt. He learned through hard knocks that he had to trust God. And the same thing with you and me, to trust the Most High in all things. Now, in this next segment in the book of 2 Samuel, David has reflected, and it calls him to write a praise, a song of praise. See, the Psalms mean songs, whatever they got that from, songs. These are the songs of David, songs of different men. They didn't sing like you and I sing. No, with the rhymes and stuff like that. No, you can have I can sing a book, if I put it right, a book out of any book, I can sing it. They sing their prayers with Islam or the Muslims. They sing their prayers, and it's done with a melody like none other. But the book of 2 Samuel, David had been through a whole lot. The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 22. David had been through a whole lot, and God delivered him out of many distresses, partly for one of the most degrading things he did to the Most High was to take a brother and one who's practicing the law and also loves him, and just ravishes his wife. Just called her there. She couldn't resist him because he's the king. And plus she's a Gentile, because the Israelites would not marry Gentiles in those days. Many of them wouldn't. Some did, but I don't think that was a woman of Israel that was married to Uriah the Hittite. Either she was a Hittite or one of the Canaanitish people. But either way, and David spake unto the I Am the words of this song in the day that the I Am had delivered him out of the hands of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. And he said, Yahweh is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. Now this is also in the book of Psalms. My God, the God of my rock, in him will I trust. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation. In other words, my deliverer from my enemies. Not in their sweet by and by. No. He's talking about now. You pray now, God gets you out of those things. Pray now that God teach you how to defeat your enemies, or how to mentally subdue him in legal battles and corporate battles and sales battles, and how to innovate things battles. Yes, you. He is your salvation. My high power, my refuge, and my savior. Thou savest me from violence. This is what he's talking about. Though that old way back in the woods dude trying to hang you or harm a person of your family, how can you deal with this person? I will call on the I Am, who is worthy to be praised, so shall I be saved from my enemies. This is what he's talking about. There's salvation from your enemies, and there's salvation from the sin that you have committed. That's to give you a clean heart. That's to give you forgiveness and mercy upon what you've done. Now, when the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Look at you around about, Jacob. Many ungodly men surround you. They hate you. They've hunged you. They forcibly molested your children and your women. Even you. Even among yourselves, you fight like cats and dogs, demising each other at every whim, protecting something that is not even, that they can take from you in a whim, and that is not even yours. Most of you, you're just young and youth, and your parents are the ones that really your mama house, because your daddy been kicked out. Come on here. I will call on the I Am, who is worthy to be praised, so shall I be saved from mine enemies. These enemies for you would be the bill collectors. that employer that hates you because of the color of your skin, and now he found a way that he can get rid of you, especially if you're in one of those no-fault states. They don't have to give you a reason to get rid of you. Just don't like you. Bye. And I will call on Sanini Nanini, who is worthy to be praised. 5. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of the ungodly men made me afraid. Not only in war, David was afraid. See, this your preacher would only tell you about what he's experienced here. But I'm going to tell you about now, how it compares. You being a good person, you being a person that is morally right and, mentally sound. And here is, you wonder why you can't prosper. Why it always you the last hired and first laid off or fired. Because what? It says the sorrow of hell. It says when the waves of death could pass, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. In war, sent to the front lines to die first, and wound up that God was with you. Many of you older ones can tell this. And that you subdued your enemies and never received anything from your enemies. Enemy of your enemy. Never received a commendation. Maybe later on, maybe somewhere in the sweet by and by after your demise of your loved one, you got a Medal of Honor or a Silver Cross or something. But at the time, they hated you. In my distress, I called upon Yahuwah and cried to my God, and he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. In other words, God heard you. Then the earth shook and trembled, and the foundations of heaven moved and shook because he was wroth. It's not that God didn't know what you were going through. Your sin separates you from the Most High. It's not the alienated things of these so-called people who take these liars of universes in the scientific community who lie and tell lies upon lies, and some of it's true, some of it's not, a lot of it's not, and tell you that God don't exist. How come he can't show up today? God's not going to come around your sin. No, he's not. Then the earth shook, and in verse 9, and then there went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured the coals were kindled by it. He's just saying how that God delivered him. He didn't see God do this. He bowed the heavens also and came down. He's saying this is what God must have done in delivering me. Darkness was under his feet. He defeats darkness, the evil. Darkness is really an evil toward you. Darkness is an evil that is toward the commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High. From day one even to this day, there's still the same laws. Laws is what we have to go by. There's laws of your body, laws that your heart does not do what your stomach does. There are laws that your blood has to follow a certain path, or else it's no good. Laws that if you eat so much of a certain thing, it will clog your arteries or whatever. Laws that if you breathe in a certain RNA factor, that it would affect your lungs because it's an airborne pathogen. No, you can't get it through food grown in the ground or whatever, or what have you there. It has to be airborne, but now they're coming up with something different, trying to demise mankind. And he bowed down and came, and the doctor was under his feet, verse 11, and he rode upon a cherub and did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. This is just his imagination of how God delivered him. How he could see God, picture God living. You have to realize many of us are pagan. We come up with all kinds of stuff. We can see things, we don't even know what it is. Now he made darkness pavilions around about him, dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. Very poetic, yes, David, that's very poetic. Through the brightness, therefore, before him were coals of fire kindled. The I am thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightnings, and discomforted them. These are spiritual things told in a poetic parable. Okay? The channels of the sea appeared, and the foundations of the world were discovered at the rebuking of Yahuwah, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. And he sent from above, and he took me, and he drew me out of many waters. People, waters, people always means waters. They knew this when they concocted Revelations. He took me out of many people that would overwhelm him, the thoughts and these people that were of one accord, that had went along with each other and hated righteousness but loved that which was wicked according against the law. And they prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the I am, even Yahweh, was my stay. In other words, I was rooted and grounded. I've hid his word in my heart, that I might not sin against him because of the waters that were overflowing me. This is what he's saying. And he brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. Because what? God delights in righteousness. God delights in you trying to mimic him, in that you would do the things of his laws, statutes, ordinances, and commandments. This is what he delights in. He don't worry about you trying to figure him out like the scientific community is trying to do. Yes, they explain some things, but then the book of Enoch explains it in a most beautiful way. Because they did not understand what people understand, did not have the terminology to name the things that the people have named today, the stars. Yes, they got that from them, the Bible. Yes, and they have other names that they named after their Greek gods and paganism and all these other things in the Latin paganistic ways, the Latin words of medicine and all these other things. These are not showing that they are so bright. Because you might name a thing in your language or another language, and it's called that, and it's one in the European languages or English, doesn't mean that you're dumb and they're smart. It just means you just called things by another name. That's all. For I have kept the ways of Yahuwah and have not done wickedly. Have not wickedly departed from my God. You have some that depart from the Most High. What do? They come back and they curse him. In many ways, not to the point where they actually use a profane word, but they curse him and defaming him. Bitterness. Just because you were in Christianity, it didn't work for you, don't mean that you go against God. That was your fault. Just because the preacher laid with your wife or the preacher's wife laid with your husband, that was their folly. And the folly of that spouse that have caused such a thing. Or the preacher even laying with your own husband. Yes. These things happen in this day and time. There's no cause for God because man is drawn of his own lust. That's a true statement. And enticed. And when lust is conceived, it brings forth sin. Sin is in your heart already. Now you got to have the opportunity. Not all the time the desire and the opportunity it comes together. But when it comes together, then when lust is conceived, it brings forth sin. When sin is finished, that's the opportunity of what's in your heart. And then you're able to carry it out, and therefore it brings forth death. In other words, while you breathe, you have a chance in this life, because the laws of this land are not according to nothing, really. They're really, you might as well throw them out the window. But God's laws, when he told Israel, you carry this out, if a man steal, he's going to pay back double, triple. No, that don't happen. They steal the money of the one who got and stole the money stole from, and have him in prison working for them instead of working to pay you back for what you owe. And whatever they do after that, that's up to them. The same thing. Even murderers, they have robbed you of a life for a life. But yet they've taken that life, leaving there permanently, that they might make money off that life, because either way they're going to get something. This is wickedness, to allow one who's taken a life to live. The longer you let them live, the worse. Or her or whoever, when they have done it out of malice. Now, it's not out of malice. It's one if you're supposed to cross a crosswalk and one hits you, and you didn't cross that crosswalk correctly at the red light, and you had a green light to cross the walk, but one hit you because you decided you wanted to cross the street another way. It just depends on your color, depends on your nationality. It depends on how the law enforcer feels that day, on whether he would proceed forth with it or just say, it's just another dirty dog we didn't like, no way. This is the way this world is. He says now in here, he said, for the I am, he said in verse 20, we're going to start with, he brought me forth into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. Why? Because David was repentant of what he did. Very repentant. David had repented for what he had done that was so vast. Verse 21, the I am rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands hath he recompensed me. In other words, because I've turned from my, when shall I say unto the righteous in the day that he forsaketh righteousness and do that which evil? The righteousness that he had done will not be remembered anymore. The same thing he says, when shall I say unto the wicked in the day that he forsakes his wickedness and do that which is right, that his wickedness will be remembered? As far as the east is from the west, so will I forgive sins. He ain't talking about no Easters. He's talking about you changing your ways. He ain't talking about no lambs and bullocks and all these other things. That had his own right. God can make his own sacrifice. He says that doesn't mean that you don't sacrifice, that he doesn't require one. He does. But the sacrifice is that sacrifice, when you sacrifice that animal, what is in your heart? Many of them were sacrificing according to just going through the motion. They were going to do the same old thing over again, just like today. Many of you call yourself, oh, in the name of so-and-so, this false deity you've made up. I ask you, forgive me for my sin. He ain't going to forgive you. God ain't going to forgive you. God listens to your heart. He listens to your intentions. Because he says he draws the rein. Be not as the horse, which is led about with us. But God is judging the intent of your heart. He sees further than you. Yes, he even says that who can know? The heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? But I, Sanini Nanini Tata Nzambe Yahweh Yahuwah, tries your intention. And he brought me forth in verse 22. Let's go to verse 22. For I have kept the ways of Yahuwah and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his judgments were before me, and as for his statutes I did not depart from them. See, there it goes again. Statutes. What does God require of me? It's right there in the book. I was also upright before him, and I kept myself from mine iniquity. In other words, I'm not going back and taking no other man and killing him and then sit up there and lay with his wife and marry her after that. Therefore the I am hath recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanliness in his rights, in his eyesight. In other words, I'm clean. God has cleaned me. He hath had mercy upon me. Verse 26, with the merciful, thou wilt show thyself merciful. Come on here. Now this is where it has come from. It's not love your enemies. No, it ain't that. God don't want you loving your enemies when your enemies don't love you. They're going to kill you. But with mercy, if your enemies come and ask mercy, not that you be That you have a merciful heart. That's what he's saying. If you have a merciful heart and someone asks mercy of you, be merciful. Now the thing he says right here, he says, now thou wilt show thyself mercy, and with the upright man thou wilt show thyself upright. In other words, to do things that are right. God will do things right with you. See, God is like eye for eye, tooth for tooth, bro. You can't get through that. If you done sit up there and diss God, he gonna dish you. That's what he gonna do. He gonna dish you, bro. He says, now, with the pure thou wilt show thyself pure. In other words, if I don't have a thing in my heart that I think evil of anyone until they're, you know, I mean, if you show me that you're evil, I know that you're evil. But other than that, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to, or should I say, prejudge you. And with the forward thou wilt show thyself unsavory. Forward means wicked. Boldly wicked. You don't want God to show that part. And with the, he says now, and the afflicted people will thou save. Look at Burkina Faso, afflicted people. What is God doing? He's saving them. He's saving them. He's using Russia. He's using China. He's using everybody to come to their... People have been praying in Burkina Faso and the Sahel. They've been praying there. You might say, well, they believe in this Allah and all. You Christian, ain't you? God gonna hear a prayer toward him. And your heart, that a lot of Muslims they are more law-abiding than many of those that call themselves Hebrew Israelites. And Christians are just not law-abiding at all. Period. It's not that God wink on your sin, it's that he sees an effort made, but you're just deceived. That's all it is. He says, now, for thou art my lamp. He says, now, look, and the afflicted people thou will say, but my eyes are upon the haughty. But thine eyes are upon the haughty, the high-minded. You have these big, powerful countries coming at this poor country who is rich and trying to keep them blinded and trying to enrich themselves. God not having that, bruh. He's not having that at all. I see God. You might see Russia. You might see everything. I see God using Russia. I see God using China. And I see God going to bring these other hideous people down to the ground using the same people. Yes. And the afflicted people thou wilt save, for thou art my lamp, O Yahweh. I am will lighten my darkness, for by thee I have run through a troop. In other words, I've run through crowds of people because of you, God. People that would have torn my head off. I ran through people that I've run through neighborhoods that they would have shot me. Or even worse, tormented me, beat me. But because of you, I have run through a troop. This is just not a religious thing. We're talking real here. We're talking life, brother. We're talking about today. He says, but thine eyes are upon the haughty. He says, for thou art my lamp. You are my life. You are the one that keeps me on fire. You are the one keeps me breathing. Oh, Yahweh, and Yahweh will light my darkness. In other words, my doubts, the things that come in to try to destroy me, try to get me from praising him. For by thee I have run through a troop, by my God have I leaped over a wall, those things that were blocking me. As for God, his way is perfect, complete. His way is complete. There is no way, other way, but just God's way. I ain't talking about no Jesus. I keep iterating that. Jesus never done anything for me. Yahushua had done nothing for you. It's all made up. But majority of the world believes on this lie. But either way, for God's way is perfect. The word of the I am is tried. He is a buckler to all them that trust in him. Why should I trust in Yahushua? Or they haven't created the earth. These named entities, or this so-called, should I say, Mashiach, made up Mashiach, hadn't done nothing but died, and they said he rose. How can I believe that? How can I say that he done this for me? When God have done many things historically, on a historical account, who have delivered many even to this day. For who is God save Yahweh? Sunini Nanini, Tata Nzambe, Ya Allah. Who is a rock save our God, our power, the great spirit? Shout out to one of my listeners. God is a strength and power, and he maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon high places. In other words, like a hind. What is that? A deer, or should I say the goats that, or the sheep, the rams that jump mountains and mountains, and they hide in the caves and they're in high places that the enemy cannot reach them. Your high place is your obedience to the Most High. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Yes, this is what he's talking about. Same man that wrote it. He teaches my hands to war. He teaches me how to beat and crush my enemies. He teaches me how to beat them out financially. He teaches me how to beat them out, should I say, technically and civilly, religiously, and physically. How to crush them. You have to listen. He will quicken your mind to invent things, to even fight if you have to fight. If you have to kill in your fighting, he will teach you how to do these things, how to evade their different things. God have done this in the past, and he's doing it today. But we have to acknowledge him in all our ways. Yes. Let me continue. This is such a vast and good thing. Thou hast enlarged my steps under me. He says, now let's go again here. He says, he is so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. David knows these things. And thou hast given me the shield of thy salvation, and thy gentleness that have made me great. Or they see David, whereas those who know God see God. Thou hast enlarged my steps under me, so that my feet did not slip. In other words, he reminded me of his law, statutes, commandments, and ordinances. I have pursued my enemies and destroyed them, and turned not again until I had consumed them. This is not your typical Easter stuff. That stuff to make you docile, to make you a punk, to make you effeminate. This is not that. So if you are into that stuff, go turn, whatever you got to do, bye. This is for those who don't mind doing what it takes to get where you have to go within the laws, commandments, statutes of the Most High. And I have consumed them and wounded them, that they should not rise. Yea, they are fallen under my feet. For thou hast girded me with strength to battle. Them that rose up against me, thou hast subdued under me. Thou hast also given me the necks of my enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. They look, but there was none to save, even unto the I am, but he answered them not. No, they were crying to a God, saying they calling on my God, but they were doing unto God that which was wicked, because they were coming against his anointed. Then I beat them as small as the dust of the earth. I did stamp them as the mire of the street, and did spread them abroad. See, they wasn't occupied with all this anime and cartoons and superheroes of just a certain hue of people, and everybody else was to be subdued by these people when these countries that these people belong to never won a war. And they call themselves supreme. Just putting up a facade before you. They looked, but there was none to save, even unto the I am, but he answered them not. This is what's going to happen in this day and time. But did I beat them as small as the dust? Then I did beat them as small as the dust of the earth. I did stamp them as the mire of the street, and did spread them abroad. Thou hast delivered me from the strivings of my people. Thou hast kept me to be head of the heathen, a people which I knew not shall serve me. And the same thing shall be of those who will do what God had said in his commandments, statutes, and ordinances. Yes, he already prescribed how to defeat your enemies. And the first part is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Period. Strangers shall submit themselves unto me as soon as they hear, and they shall be obedient unto me. Strangers shall fade away, and they shall be afraid out of their closed places. Yes, the strangers have subdued the children of Jacob because of Jacob choosing to be like the stranger, and the stranger dominates when you choose his way. And the I am, even Yahuwah, liveth. And blessed be my rock, and exalted be the God of the rock of my salvation. He is God that avengeth me. Yes. Many ways God avenged David. Many ways God will avenge you. Many ways God will give you strength to subdue your enemies if you would do that which that you have agreed that you will do. He didn't twist your arm to obey his commandments, statute, but your ancestors agreed to this thing. That the Most High said, that will we do. And he said, if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. After all I've done for you, and then you agree with me, this is what's going to happen to you, cuz. God ain't no play. And that he bringeth down the people under me, and that bringeth me from mine enemies. Thou hast lifted me up high above them that rose up against me. Thou hast delivered me from the violent man. Therefore will I give thanks unto thee, O Yahuwah, among the heathen, and I will sing praise unto thy name. He is the tower of salvation, for he is king, and showeth mercy to his anointed, unto David, and to his seed forevermore. If God can forgive David for all that because of your heart toward the Most High and his law statutes, to vehemently keep them and uphold them before the world and before your brethren, God will raise you up, and he will be most feared. They will see you, but he's there. You will exalt him. That's how this works. And this is how David really was a man after God's own heart. And with that, peace.
Walk with me.